Hello dear chess friends, my name is Marko Makaj, I am FIDE master from Croatia and I record this video for great chess teaching site Remote Chess Academy. The topic for our today lesson will be the middle game and especially the piece position in the middle game and how to improve it. So let's start with next exam and let's see what I prepare for today's lesson. On our chess table, it's the position that has been played 10 years ago in Moscow between two of international grandmasters Svetushkin and Wang Yue. Wang Yue play here with black pieces and after 26 move from white, we get in the position that we have now on our board. Black is on the move and on the first sight it looks like the position is about equal. And I agree with this statement, but with one small difference. I believe that black is slightly better. Nothing special and nothing serious, but I think that black has a little bit easier play here. Why I believe this is so, I will try to explain in a couple of seconds. So, if you look at carefully on this position, you will see that black has nicely placed both of the rooks during the A file. Why is this so important? This is important because every single move, black can try to take A on B4. After we take AB and white take with AB, we will have with black pieces or black will have initiative on the A file. White always needs to be prepared on this capture, and because of this, his piece, dark square bishop on b2, needs to be as it is. So, bishop needs to be on b2 just because he needs to protect the rook on a1. Also, because black has both of the rooks on the a file, white needs to have the other rook or maybe the queen to help him and defense this rook on a1. Now, if we know that this bishop needs to stay on b2, we also can see that one rook needs to stay for now on a1. Why? Because also if we remove this rook, for instance on b1 or maybe on c1 or maybe even on d1, you can easily see that after a takes on b4, a takes on b4, once again this rook from a6 will came into a2 position, and from there he'll be very active, and this is not something that white wants to do here. So basically now we see that bishop on b2 and rook on a1 need to stay on their on the original places. If we go further and we started with white pieces, you can see that the bishop on c2 is now on the position from where he doesn't achieve much in this position. And also if you look at on this diagonal, you can see that the pawn on e4 is on his way and he do not play on this diagonal so active as he can be. And also on the other diagonal he doesn't have the squares because the black pawns are on c4 and b5 and they completely cut this light square bishop out of the play from the queen side. Next piece is the queen on e2, and as you can see, this queen can remove himself and she can try to do something in the position. But because black is slightly better, the white needs to protect his position, and that's why this queen needs to stay very close to his other pieces and somehow to control the vital squares on the white half of the board. Rook from e1 also is very naturally placed piece, and because of his initial value he needs to cover the a1 square and protect this other rook, and because of this he also needs to stay on the first rank. That means that he doesn't need to lose any more time because it's irrelevant if he is on e1, d1, c1 or even b1, he will only have the option to cover this rook on a1. That means that if you look at carefully, the only piece that can make some progress here is the white knight that is placed on f1 square. Now, because of white need to protect his position, this knight can somehow try to improve the position over d2 square. So for instance, something like knight d2 is possible, or even knight to e3. Now, according to what will black choose, white will play with this knight. Now, when we know everything what we need to know about white position, let's go to our black position. Here, black is slightly better. And the thing is, because he have slightly more space on the queen side and very naturally and very aggressively placed rook on a6 and on a8. This gives him small advantage, and because of it, white need to protect, especially on the a file. One thing that is also important, AB cannot be taken seriously with c takes on b4, because then the pawn on a3 will be very exposed. So now when we know what black have on the a file, we need to see how other pieces are placed and can we improve some of them. Queen on c8 is naturally placed, somehow protected both of the rooks, playing on the queen side, and allow to some other pieces some more natural squares. Also, this knight on d8 is the piece that for now doesn't have any significant role. That means that this is the piece that we need to improve. And it's the first one. The light square bishop is, I believe, perfectly placed, because on one side he defend the b5 pawn, and on the other side, together with the queen, somehow control this c8 h3 diagonal. If you try to see some other square that this bishop can reach, I don't think that you will find it, because if you try to move him on e8 and then f7, it will be not the best way how to improve the position of this piece. So very important is not only to re-evaluate or to change the position of the piece. It's very important to improve his original position and get him on a square where he'll be better. The last piece, and I believe the most aggressive piece that can be, from here he doesn't support anything. It's of course this bishop on e7 that is completely cut out of the play because of those two pawns. So pawns now on f6 and on d6 completely cut out this bishop out of the play. That means that if black wants to have even better position, he needs to reposition the both of the light piece that can be better. That means that he needs to find the right way how to improve the position of this knight from d8 and then the bishop on e7. Now you will see how Chinese international grandmaster find nice way how to improve the position of both of the pieces. First, what he has done in this position was the move knight to f7. Now, this knight not only to find the better square for himself, but also because this knight move himself from d8 square, allow our dark square bishop reposition with or via to d8 square on most aggressive square or diagonal, and this is the square b6. So you can see how nicely black improved the position of the knight from f7 and also try to plan how to reposition his other light piece, this dark square bishop, through d8 square on b6 square. Now, white also, as we mentioned before, have one piece that needs to be repositioned, and this is the knight on e3. Now, white play here knight to e3 and try to improve the position of this knight through the e3 square. Of course, black play according to his original plan, bishop to d8, and after white next move, you will see that this bishop will get to the best diagonal on the board. White here try to improve the position of his rook from e1, and because all other pieces are now on, I will say, the best possible squares, he tried to do something with this rook on e1. And he played very natural move, rook f1. It's not only to reposition this rook or find him the better file, he also tried to do something on the king side. And by this I mean his plan now is something like f4. So white can at some stage try to create something on the king side with f4. But he needs to be very cautious not to open the position too soon, or not to get black some squares like e5, because after f4 e takes on f4, the knight will be possibly connected to the e5 square, and that means that after knight e5 black will have great knight on e5, the knight that a few moves ago was on d8. So you can see how black easily improved the position of his pieces. After rook f1, of course, bishop b6 is the key move, or let's say key idea from black that now have even slightly better position than it was, because the knight from d8 and the bishop from e7 now get on very active squares. And there you can see how one side can improve the position of his pieces. This is very important in today exam, but also in your next games, to see how and where you can improve the position of the pieces. In my view, it is also very important to understand that basically if you are better, you have in most of the positions time and ability to do this. Also, you need to be careful, and if you are better, then you can try to control and to coordinate the position like here black does. Of course, white cannot find the luxes for his own pieces because they need to be in defense, and he also needs to be very cautious not to get into problematic position if we somehow try to control some squares that originally belongs to black. Okay, now after this, white tried to move the rook from a to e1. So he now decided that it is time to abandon this a file and trying to do something on the king side, because if he stay very passive on the queen side, black will even improve the position of their pieces with some moves like rook a8 to a7, and then queen can also get on a8, and potentially he can create a lot of tension, and eventually with taking on b4 taking the initiative over the a file. So with rook a to e1, white wants to make something on the king side. So he abandoned the defense on the queen side and tried to do something on the king side. Now black improved the last possible piece in his position, and he played king to g7. Now king somehow protect the pawn on f6 and allow also queen or maybe even the rook to play on the 8th rank. It can be natural if black will need some assistance on the king side, because now all three pieces, both of the rooks and the queen, somehow are controlling the play on the king side. And now white play one very nice move. This is the move bishop to b1. What is his idea? It is to cover the a2 square. So he tell now the black, okay, I abandon a file, but how you will improve the position of your pieces? And by that he mean, I don't want to give you the a2 square. Let's see what your idea is. And now after taking on b4 and taking on b4, black finds another resources that are very natural and good looking here, and this is the resource of queen to e8. Why? Because he somehow improved the position of his own queen, and now this queen can get on the e7 square. From e7 she will cover the f6 square and be in white king defense on the king side. And now white play the move g3. It's important now to understand and to find what happens if white move the pawn to f4. This means that white wants to open the position, but it will be premature, and because of the queen on e8, now after taking on e4, and let's say rook take on e4, black have the monster move queen e5, the move that will completely cut off all of the white's pieces from the king side and especially create a lot of the pressure on the e4 pawn. So you can see here how black improved the position after he bring his queen from c8 to e8. So this is the third and very nice example how you can improve the position of his pieces and also try to connect your plan to the plan of your opponent. So because of black know that white will play f4, he wants to protect this e5 square by playing queen to e8. And now after white moved the pawn on g3, black get his queen back to c8 because he wants to attack the pawn on h3, and now white play g4. So white needs to somehow make some targets from his pawns on the king side, because black maneuvering very nicely with the queen and the bishop. And now it's time for black not only to get his counter chances on the king side, but also black wants to get the best white piece of the board. So that's why he take bishop on e3. Of course, f takes on e3 here is something that white needs to do, because if we take this bishop with the queen, now g5 will get him without any kind of the counter chances, and now because of those both bishops are completely out of the play, by playing knight to h8, knight g6 and knight f4, black will have great looking position without any kind of the counter chances from the white player. After f take on e, queen d8, once again he wants to control this f5, f6 square, rook f3, he play queen e7 as we mentioned before, and now after rook f to f1, he play a rook to f8. And now because of better placed black's pieces, black is also slightly better, nothing special, but here if white finds here the best possible way how to play queen to f2, the position will remain approximately the equal. Okay, black is just a teeny slightly better, but nothing special after knight to g5. But you can see how black once again improved the position of the knight who was on d8 and now is on great square g5. But in this game, white make now the mistake, and after rook to f8 he play queen to g2. Now black can improve even the position on the king side, because white pawns are very exposed, and the great move is h5, after which g takes on h5 and knight g5 gives black great position and gives black significant edge. On the end of this game, black managed to win. Now, why so? Because all of the black's pieces are very nicely placed. You see how black improve the position of every single piece when both of the bishop pair is completely out of the play. Now, for the end, let's make the great conclusion for our today lesson. The first conclusion is spot the pieces which position you can improve. After this, you need to find the best squares for those pieces. And for the end, you need to find a plan and sequence of moves how to do this, or how to improve the position of your pieces.